And for those who are watching us live today, I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited that Allison can join us today. And I hope that you pull out a notebook and paper. That's what I'm doing. I have a notebook and paper. I always do that. Your notebook and pencil, because you're going to want to take notes. So Allison, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to just talk with us, no BS today, about habits. I'm so excited about this topic. I'm kind of geeking out.
Oh, you're so funny. Absolutely. I love talking about habits too. I think it's so important. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. Let's dive right into it. In fact, I'm going to pull up Facebook on my phone to make sure if we have comments or anything coming in, I want to make sure that we're answering questions, but we haven't had any of that in the past. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, who is Allison Nelson? I know you have a little girl. Tell us where you live and how you actually got started and what you're doing today.
Sure. Yeah. So hi, everybody. I am Allison Nelson. I am a business coach and strategist, and I do have a little girl. She is 4.5. And I am also a wife to a very supportive husband, and we are both displaced New Yorkers. We live in New England now for almost 9 years. Right before our wedding, we moved. So we've been here a while, but we still are New Yorkers. And I like to say that because the no BS stuff kind of comes out a little bit with that. And also some of the words I say, people are like, whoa, like I have a little accent when I get fired up.
I love it. I live in New Jersey, so I feel totally at home.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So right next door. So, I mean, what I do in my business is I help service-based female entrepreneurs fast track to 4-figure monthly income. We use organic marketing strategies and a no BS attitude to do that. So I got into this because I was home with my daughter, and I was an educator, and I decided to stay home with my daughter. And I did not know what to do, but I knew I wanted to do something. So I decided to actually open up a product-based e-commerce shop. And when, I did that with my husband, actually. So that was kind of fun to do that together. But I knew after about 6 months that I wasn't really fulfilling my potential. I loved writing. I loved helping people. So I decided to use the blog part of my website that kind of came with my website to talk about how I built the business, how I built it with a 2-year-old at home, no childcare, family still in New York, how I had built it with no capital, how I sell mugs, even though who doesn't have like 1 million mugs, all of that stuff. So I noticed people started to kind of ask me for advice and started asking me questions, and it was not about the products. It was about the business. So I said, well, I would love to I love talking about that stuff. So I decided to start helping people, and I decided I loved it. Now I started as sort of a time management and productivity coach, because that's really where, as mothers of young children, we're kind of doing the nap time thing, right? And so, we're working late at night, or we're getting up early for the baby wakes up, like all that stuff, right? So I started that way. And then I quickly realized that, and this is what I'm going to talk to everybody today, that time management is actually the result of good habits. So you don't pull time management tips from the sky, which I know we all do this, right? We go on Pinterest and we're looking for all the time management tips, and we try everything. We try all the planners, and we try all the stuff, and setting alarms on our phone and all that crazy stuff, right? And it doesn't work after a couple of weeks. And we beat ourselves up. We think it's something about us, or we think that time management tip's not good enough, or something's wrong with us, or we're just not cut out for it, right? But actually, we have to really focus on the habits. And if you have good habits, that actually promotes productivity. Therefore, you have better time management. So time management is sort of the result, and habits are sort of the way to build up to that result. So reading the book Atomic Habits sort of changed my life on that. James Clear is incredible. He's a great thinker. He's a great, sort of thought leader in the space of habits and changing your life through tiny little, getting 1% better every day. So I sort of got really inspired by that. And I moved into business coaching because I didn't really just want to talk about time management. I was sort of also bored just talking about that. And I wanted to help women build a business that they were proud of, a sustainable business online. So I have been a coach for about a year and a half or so. And I have a group program where I literally help you fast track to 4 figures. That's actually the name of the group program. And I do one-to-one coaching as well, and lots of speaking like this. So that's me. That's sort of a little bit of my journey. I use all of my management skills that I've had in previous jobs. I was a counselor. I was a counseling educator for a while. And so yeah, that's, kind of where I'm at today.
Okay. I love this. First of all, I have to say, all credit to James Clear. Like, that book is transformational. Yeah. So if anybody listening has not read that book yet, you need to pick it up. And then I love that you have said that, that our habits, the time management is the result of our habits. And I have taught for a long time that we don't control time. Like, time is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter how you look at it. Even if you don't count 24 hours a day, the sun is still going to rise and set at its normal cycle. We are still only going to have the same amount of time. We're going to still need sleep at some point of time, but we can only use those hours, in such a way that we get the most out of them. And the habits is exactly the way we do with that. We create time for things. We don't control time.
That's right. Yeah. Time is a circumstance. We're living on this earth is a circumstance that you are lucky to have. You have to take the opportunity that you are human and you are able-bodied, and you can take your 24 hours of the day that you have and use it effectively. And that's actually was my next point, Amy, that like it is literally all about control. That, you can't really start to build habits until you understand that you have to be in control. And if we're talking about business in particular, obviously, of course, you can apply this to every part of your life. But talking about business in particular, you actually have to be in the driver's seat of your business in order to really be building those habits. That's sort of a disclaimer that I started to notice with a lot of my clients, was that they were really just focusing on the like the time management, like the strategy itself, and not actually giving it life where it needed to be, because we are in control. We can control our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And that's what I'm going to talk about today too. Go in depth on that. But we can't control circumstance, which is the fact that, we have 24 hours in a day, that the sun rises and then it sets. We can't control that. And we can't control what other people think, feel, or act. Those are the things we can't control, and that's okay, because we don't have to do that. Like, we can focus on ourselves. Like, it really is about taking the time to understand that your thoughts are really where it all starts when it comes to habits.
And you make a great point, especially as moms, and for whoever dad entrepreneurs, are listening to this too. We get so frustrated when we tell our kids to do something, and they end up making a different choice than we want them to make. So in the end, like, what I have found, and what you're talking about, is that in the end, the things that we can control are our choices and the things that we choose to do with our time. And another point that you made that I'd love to touch on is the fact that sometimes, and I see this as you respond to other people in your group, in my group, around the board, that I love, is that you help people differentiate between important tasks and the tasks that actually move them forward. Because we, as business owners and as parents, we see everything as simultaneously important. So how do you teach people to get around the important factor, like I have to do this and I have to do that, and actually dial in on what will move them forward?
Yeah. So when it comes to your business in particular, literally the income producing activities consist of 3 things. Now, of course, your business is your business. So I don't like to, to say like, well, this is an engagement activity, but it's engagement, it's networking, and it's networking, engagement, and then nurturing. And that's kind of like, I'm putting it in that line because you have to network in order to meet people, engage with them in order to get to know them and build a relationship, and then nurture them, continue that conversation until they're ready for the service that you provide, and until they've had enough trust, but not too much because you don't want to friend zone your people. So those are income producing activities. So whatever you think falls under those three things, those are probably the right things to do. And anything else is really icing on the cake, honestly. You not putting pressure on yourself to, get a million likes on your Facebook page. Like, I can absolutely tell you that doesn't mean anything. Like, that means shit. Literally, that means nothing. Like, my coach is like a multiple six-figure business owner, and I have more likes on my Facebook page than she does. And that's only because I transformed mine after going from product to service. So I've technically had my page longer than she has. And that's really the only reason why. But how come she's making multiple six figures and she has like 600 people that like her page on Facebook? Who cares? Who cares? It's because she's building relationships. She's doing the income producing activity things that she needs to be doing. She's creating content. She's reaching people where they are. She knows exactly who her ideal client is. All of these things, right? These are the things that move you forward. And not like, oh, I wonder how many likes I can get on my Facebook page this week. And then the result is I'll be fine. And that's not, and that's, that kind of is the difference between goals and process. A lot of times we focus on the goal, which obviously a goal is what you want to achieve, right? So when you speak a goal, you're not actually giving the room for the how of that goal. Your process is the how. That's how you'll get to the goal. It's really, really important to make sure that you're giving yourself the process, milestones as the goals. I mean, so like, for example, if you want, your big goal is a six-figure business and you're just like kind of putting pressure on yourself for like that six-figure business, not really about how you're going to get there. The process of that six-figure business, how I'm going to nurture my people, where I'm going to meet them, what programs I'm going to have for them, what kind of offers, what do they look like? What's the result? What can I do to like continue to network and market my business? That's the process, right? That's what you have to fall in love with. You cannot fall in love with the goal because it does not give you any sense of how. And so therefore you will be sort of chasing your tail on all the important things because you haven't told yourself yet what's important and what's not. And so it sort of depends. I mean, James Clear even says this, you get what you repeat. You get what you repeat. So like if you're going to, shout out some kind of habit or something you guys have in your business, it's not, that it's not really working. Well, if you're going to continue to do it, you're just going to continue to get the same results.
Right. You gotta change it up. You do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got, right?
That's right. That's right.
And I teach my clients the same thing. I love that you're teaching this because it's so funny how in business and in health, in families, it's all the same. The things that we do over and over again, the routines that we create for ourselves, for our families, for our businesses, that is what moves us forward. And so the most effective things that we have in our routines are the things that are going to make or break whatever we're working towards, right? You're exactly right. Those are the goals. The milestones are the goals that we should be working towards. Yeah. And the processes are the everyday, the boring things that you do every single day that eventually make a difference. And James Clear talks about that in Atomic Habits, that there's this point that we come to, like, we feel like we're just going, and just on this flat road where it feels like, we're driving towards the horizon, like we're never, ever going to get there. But then there comes this, and it's not called a tipping point. I can't remember what he calls it. But there is this point where it changes and then it starts to skyrocket things. So, and people often lose, they lose the momentum. They lose they haven't built this into a habit yet, but they're just about there when they stop. when they could have been skyrocketing through things. So how do you teach people to get past that point?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of ways you can do that. The first thing is celebrating your small wins. The only way to really keep momentum is to continue to celebrate the good things that are happening, right?
Love it.
Really loving that process and honing in on those three sort of like tenets of income producing activities. You will get results. You will. And therefore you get to celebrate them. And the celebration continues that momentum. So lots and lots of celebrating going on inside of my group program and inside of my my free community as well. We have to celebrate, right? That is going to continue that momentum. And I also think, you know, if you fall in love with your process, if you find things that you really love about what you're doing, and you really hone in on like that expertise of yours, it's going to feel easier. Now, business is never, I hate actually saying that because business is never easy. It gets to be simple though. And when you kind of like take all the crap out and you know that you're doing like these few things to get to where you need to go, it feels simple. And then the other thing is, which is kind of related to celebrating, it has to be fun. If it's not going to be fun, you're not going to do it. I don't care what you think. It is the truth. Like you have to have fun in your business. A lot of people, and actually even me, about a year ago, my coach asked me like, well, what would be fun, you know, to do in your group, or what would be fun to offer? And I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? What would be fun? Who cares? Who cares what would be fun? Like, is it going to get me from A to B? That's what I want to know. And she's like, well, you're not going to do it if it's not fun. And so I sort of was like, I'm going to, you know, try this. That's kind of silly, but it really is true. Like, if you're not having fun, really, what's the difference? I think Tony Robbins said something like you can have a great business, but if you don't enjoy your life, what's the point? And it's, you know, I think that's another way to sort of build that momentum. It's like, are you having fun? And also continuing to ask yourself, what would be fun? What would be fun to grow my business? Takes the pressure off a little bit. I know lots of us have the pressure on us, right? Especially when we're still in growth phase. We haven't had as many clients as we want to, all of that kind of thing. We're putting pressure on ourselves. We're getting desperate. You know, choosing fun over sort of any of the desperate stuff, any of the things that you could be doing, choosing fun is always going to build that momentum. It's always going to be the right decision.
Okay, so aside from business, how do you have fun when you're not working? Because I think like there are a lot of people in this group who haven't started a business. They work, you know, a full-time job or whatever, and sometimes that full-time job is a piece of junk. And they just go to work and it's no fun. So to balance that out, and you know, I would say, well, go get another job, but sometimes it's just not that easy to do. So how do you have fun when you're not working?
Yeah, I mean, fun has to be it's very subjective, right? What's fun to me is maybe not fun to you. But I think one of the ways to do it is to sort of stop thinking so hard about how to have fun and just be, you know, it's cliche to say, but just sort of be yourself. You know, there was lots of times that in my 20s, I don't think I really like thought about what was fun to me. I just kind of like did whatever I wanted because I was in my 20s. And because why not? And now that I'm not in my 20s anymore, I'm starting to like sort of realize like, oh yeah, that was fun. Like, for example, this is a really silly example. My husband and I love to be in the kitchen together and dance together. I freaking hate the kitchen. Okay. My husband is much better at cooking anything than me. I can do a thing of pasta and that's like pretty much it. I'm like really not good at it. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 3.5 years. So you can only imagine the things that my child has eaten. But
I can imagine one thing they might have eaten.
yeah. And she's dairy free too. So, I mean, you know, that was another whole thing, but yeah, I pretty much can't do, and I don't enjoy it. So I learned a long time ago that if I play music in the kitchen and dance a little bit and get to sing, I'm happier in there, you know, to a point, and I can like do the things I need to do, like wash the vegetables and all that stuff. And then I'm like, get me out of here. Right. But at least so I know that that's fun for me. I know that moves me through something that I have to do as a homeowner and a mother and a wife. I have to be in the kitchen sometimes. You know, I can't hire a cook right now. That's just the way it is. So my husband and I used to dance a lot in the kitchen because he understood that, like, you know, my thing. And so with the music, and so he would, have to listen to it and dance around. And our neighbors one day, we were walking and our neighbors were like, yeah, we see you dancing in the kitchen. You're like having so much fun. I was like, oh my God, I bought like blackout shades the next day. I was like, these people, and I stopped dancing in the kitchen.
Oh.
Yeah, this was a long time ago. I stopped enjoying it. I mean, my husband and I have been together a long time. So in our 20s, we danced in the kitchen together. Now that we're in our 30s, I forgot about that. And, just recently I wanted to lift my daughter's mood. I think she's 4.5. So like sometimes, we get a little moody, and I just started dancing and she enjoyed it. And I was like, you know what, this is fun. And this was something that I used to have fun with, but I let other people tell me that it wasn't, that like they felt a certain way about it. And I let their thoughts and feelings control, my actions. And so I think a lot of times if you really it takes some practice, takes some trial and error. But if it's authentic and feels good to you, then that's a good first step. So whatever feels authentic and good to you, and isn't just like a false desire, but actually something that will pour back in. And I always recommend if you want to do this activity, it's pretty cool. Like if you you basically take a piece of paper and split it in half and do drains me, fills me up, and write down the things that drain you and write down the things that fill you up. I guarantee if you ever feel drained and you're not sure why, and you're confused about sort of your thoughts and your feelings, if you look at that list, I'm sure you're doing most of the things on that list. Staring at the computer too long, going on Instagram drains me a lot. It just does. I do not scroll Instagram. It is my secondary platform in many ways because it drains me. And I know if I'm spending more time on Instagram, I'm not going to feel my best. And then I have a fill me up section so that I know exactly what I need to. If I need to get up and do 5 minutes of a yoga routine, or I need to dance to a certain playlist, then that's going to start to fill me up, or talk to a friend or whatever it is. But that's authentic to me. It might not be authentic to to you. So, I think trial and error, leaning into the silly, that's okay. Taking out a piece of paper and some crayons. If you have kids, steal their crayons. I did that. I took crayons and I have my own stash, and I just color whatever I want. And it's stupid and it's a terrible representation of art, but it's, it gets, it's fun for me.
Yeah, that's not the result you're trying to create anyway, right? Is a piece of art. You're just trying to let things go. I love that so much. And I love that you respect the fact, I mean, I think my question was a pretty vague question. So you were answering it for the general, for the general audience, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
But you also shared a specific example of the power of our environment on how we feel, how we act, what we do, what we accomplish, right?
Right.
I don't necessarily like playing with toys like my kids do, but my daughter loves it when we play Legos together. So something that I do and that I want to get better at. So you talked about not being fake, but I would add something to that. Like if you want to get better at doing something and you don't really have the desire to do it, just do it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think as you want to do something like that, that will grow as you practice it. It's just like a relationship, like with your husband or your daughter or my kids as well. Those relationships do not grow if we don't put the effort and the action into growing that relationship. So we have to put the effort and energy into creating the environment that we want and then getting the results that we want. And I love that you've talked about fun. And I have no doubt actually that this regular fun time, this recovery time that you've created for yourself has propelled your business forward. Would you say that too?
Oh, 1,000%. Yes, that is so true. And you know what, that's something that when you're talking about you have to create the environment and just do it. That's one of the things is I've had to step away because it's counterintuitive to believe that walking away from my computer will help my business, right? Staying in front of my computer is supposed to help my business. Right. But, you start to, if you start to pay attention to your thoughts, you start to notice that again, if you know that staying in front of the computer for too long drains you, then you're not good to anybody that way. You're not good for your family. You're not good for your clients. You're not good for your business, especially when you're in growth mode. You're especially not good because it's all about like sort of your excitement and your message, so that people are attracted to you, because you don't have testimonials yet. You don't have actual clients yet. Right. So, and sort of the same thing, no matter, kind of what part of your life you're trying to improve upon. It's always better to, listening to ourselves is not selfish. It's actually better for everybody. And women are so powerful. We don't understand how powerful we are in terms of like, we touch everything we touch, like our entire family's lives, all of that. Like, we're actually a huge influence in how our family sort of grows and, kind of just lives and sets their goals and achieves them. We're a huge impact on that. We make huge impact. So a lot of times I know women want to be selfless, but it is selfless to be selfish, because you do make such an impact. So, it's that whole, like, if mama's not happy, ain't nobody happy kind of thing. You have to make sure that like you are pouring into yourself. That does trickle down. If you can imagine that, like, you're an empty cup, but what you're doing is like trickling down, and pouring back in, and you're filling up. So is everybody else that you touch, your friends, your family, your kids, like everybody.
I love that so much. I have used that analogy so many times, where if our cup is empty, and I had very personal experience with that for both myself and my family members. Growing up, I had a mom who, I'm the oldest of 9 kids, and so she just felt like she had to give and go. And she's not in a position to do that anymore. And I feel like she has lived with an empty cup because she has given. And we feel so guilty for taking that time. Like you said, we think that it's so selfish to pay attention to ourselves.
Right.
And yet we know this. We know that we too are human, and we have to take care of ourselves in order to take care of somebody else. So I love that you have said we have to fill our cups in order to have that spill out and influence others. And something that I imagined as you were talking about, everything we touch, we could almost call ourselves Queen Midas. Like everything we touch is gold, but our perception is that everything we touch turns to stone. Like we have this mental block that the things that we do don't matter as much as we think they do. That's and they do. They do. We have such an impact. And I love that you've said that so much. So I think you said you had 3 steps, and I think I've prevented you from sharing the last one, but so what would be your final step for us to really dive into these habits and see ourselves for the valuable, impactful people that we can be?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think when it comes to habits and things, and like what James Clear has done so well is talked about sort of understanding your triggers. And, some might call this a cue. If you're like a psych nerd, you might call it a cue, or it's a trigger. And then sort of like having to really break that down and almost remap your brain, right? And I think what he's sort of honing in on is that it really, your thoughts are actually a huge part of how we sort of feel and act. Your thoughts actually create your feelings, and your feelings create your actions. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think like, well, I feel, but our feelings actually come from the thought. So in order to change our feelings, now feelings can't be right or wrong, right? You can feel however you want. You're allowed. I never tell a client of mine, don't feel that way. Don't do that, because that's not okay. You're allowed to feel however you want to feel, but you can change your feelings. And it starts with the thought. So I think really getting curious about the thoughts that you have when you're sort of sitting in that stuck place, or you're not really sure, you're trying to build a habit, basically. Really making sure that you capture that thought, whatever that thought is, when you go to do something that you want to do, that will better your life. Maybe it's working out, or maybe it's networking with people to build your business or something. And like, you're about to do it, whatever that thing is, you're about to do it. And then, something happens and you don't do it. And then, that second part is like, okay, I go to the craving. A lot of you psych nerds might know that word is craving, which is like, for me, it's scrolling Instagram. Like if there's something I don't want to do, I'm like, oh, what about Instagram today? How's that going? And then of course, I told you already, I know that Instagram drains me. So clearly here I am not acting out of my best interest for my business, right? So I have to go back and change the thought. And a lot of times this is hard. This is not something that's going to be like, oh, okay, Allison, great. I'll just change the thought. This is hard. So don't think that like you're going to be a perfect person at this right away, because it's not going to happen. But whatever that thought is, you can actually reframe it, change it. Mm-hmm. So for example, I give this example a lot because I know time management is a struggle for a lot of women, feeling like they don't have the time to do it all, right? To work 9 to 5, take care of the kids, actually have a relationship with them, take care of yourself, make sof your marriage is still going well, and your laundry and dishes are getting done, all that stuff, right? God forbid also you might have a business, all that stuff. So, the thought a lot of times that comes up is I don't have time. Right? I don't have time. And actually that's a thought that is really debilitating to the fact. Now, no wonder you are kind of, treating a lot of your life like, oh, that's annoying, because you're telling yourself you don't have time for it. So it's like no wonder, like a lot of people say to me, like, I don't know why my business is still on the back burner, because you keep telling yourself you don't have time. Clearly, that's the feeling that you're getting is of overwhelm or, pressure or whatever it is. And that's not comfortable. So the action is, well, I just won't do it. Like, no wonder, right? So I think, just as an example of like, a lot of people like, okay, well, how do I change that thought? What does that look like? What example might be, my time is valuable. And now your thoughts, when you reframe them, they have to be authentic to you. I can't create a thought for you. So that gets a little hard, especially if you're not used to like journaling and mindset stuff and meditating and all that. That gets a little hard at first. But I like to give that as a suggestion. I actually gave this as a suggestion to one of my clients recently, and she used it for about a week. And then she told me, I changed it to, I forget what she changed it to, but she changed it to something that was more authentic to her. And it was working for her much better. So it's just like kind of I'm just giving you like a springboard here. But if you say to yourself, my time is valuable, now when you have 20 minutes, your feeling about your time is going to be a lot more positive, because you just told yourself, my time is valuable. If your time is valuable, then you care about it a little bit more. And again, going back to like the first part of our conversation, which was control, and understanding that like those 24 hours are coming and going, whether you like it or not, but they are yours to control.
Yes. And to tie all of this together, kind of bookend it, like you and I was part of your challenge last week, and the first statement of affirmation I believe you taught everybody was, I have all the resources I need to do what I want to do, right? To accomplish this goal, whatever I have set myself to do. So that says that we both have time and we have the ability to do those things that we've said that we need to do. Now it's just taking those small steps of progression to create those habits that get us the results we want.
That's right. I mean, you have the knowledge. I think that was, it's funny that you reframed it. And I think that's awesome. I think I have the knowledge I already need to succeed. And I believe that is so, so true. I believe we all know, we all have the knowledge. We all have the thing. Knowledge is overrated, right? I mean, Google is here. We can Google anything. It's not, knowledge is sort of overrated now. Not to say that
so much of it.
Not important, but it's a little overrated. You don't need to know everything, right? What you know right now is enough to get you to the next level. And sure. Are you going to educate yourself? Are you going to pour into yourself about things that you don't know, that you want to know more about? Sure. But like, you already have the knowledge you need to get to where you want to go. And you are your biggest resource. And that's a lot of the control and getting in the driver's seat of your own life here. I mean, it's important. So
I love that. You saying, that I have what I need inside to do what I want to do now. I think, and I don't know, maybe for a lot of other moms, but for me, I look at that and think, can I really do that? We kind of sit back and think, am I really capable of doing something like that? But it's not the big thing that we're trying to do. It's the small thing that gets us a little closer to the big thing.
Yeah.
So
You have the knowledge that you need already to build those habits so that you get to those big things. Because remembering, again, the big things are great, but they're the destination. The journey is what's most important. The journey is where you learn, and the journey is where you fall down. And it might actually even change the way that your vision for your life looks, which I like to call goals, the vision for your life. The way that it might change, right? Or parts of it might get realized. Like, for example, as you know, being vulnerable. One of the visions for my life was to have my husband retire at an early age so he could be home and, you know, kind of help us grow our family and all of that. Well, lo and behold, COVID happened and he got fired. He lost his job because of COVID. So that part got realized. He was home. So, you know, I say that to mean that like your process is really so important, because was I just supposed to abandon the process just because one part got realized? No, but I sort of changed and rethought. And again, I already had the knowledge that I needed. So it didn't matter whether I brought him home or whether circumstance brought him home. So
that's a good point. I love that. So then you're looking at what happens as something that happens for you and not something that happens to you.
Yes. And that's the biggest, that's another thing about like belief in yourself and things happen for you. They don't happen to you. And like, if you believe that you can get to where you want to go and you actually take control, then you know that already, right? That all the things that happen on your journey are just like, oh, that's nice. Or, okay, that was a little crappy, but I learned something, and that's okay too. You know, I need that, obviously. That's okay.
Yes.
I'll take that, put it in the trunk because I'll use it sometime soon, and that's good. You know?
Yeah, it's left its imprint for sure.
Oh,
and hopefully you fill it with gold, right? Instead of filling it with stone, just make it valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like your time is valuable. You know, you have 10 minutes, it's still valuable. What are you going to do?
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it, because it says that every choice we make, then everything we end up doing can mean something to us. We don't have to feel like we're going through life just, you know, doing things that we hate just to put food on the table or whatever. We can actually do things that we love.
Yeah, exactly. Because we already have that knowledge. We're never walking into anything new, you know, totally unarmed. We have ourselves. So.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of this, Allison. So before we end, you have something going on right now that can help people go through exactly what we've talked about, just on a deeper level. Can you share with us what that is?
Yeah, sure. So I think I mentioned it before. I have a group coaching program called Fast Track to 4 Figures. It's a 6-month live group coaching program. It's a hybrid of a course and a program. I always like to say the course is the backbone, and the Facebook group, the Insiders Facebook group, and all the support and accountability is the heartbeat. So if I'm going to, give it a body.
Love it.
Yeah. So where I actually opened the doors recently. And so basically what we do is, through organic marketing strategies, teach you how to fast track your business to 4 figures. Cause listen, I took like 2 years or something to even like start, like before it like clicked, right? Before any of this stuff clicked. And then once I made a decision, once I kind of said to myself, okay, you have no choice, and not a pressure kind of thing, but just like, you have the hunger, you have the desire, it's time to do this. You know, it's time to listen to the little voice inside. So this group coaching program is based on my experience, having gone from pretty much $200 a month or something in my business to 6 figures in a year. And it's also based on my clients, on my one-to-one clients that I noticed patterns with. And so basically that is the course. The doors are open. It is such an amazing, life-changing program that I am so excited about it. I love talking about it. And I'm talking about it a lot inside of my free community on Facebook. So you can, you know, kind of meet me there if you have any other questions, or you'd like to see how I coach, what my style is. This was very authentic to me. This is how I coach, sort of a no BS approach, some cursing, but you know,
like a sailor.
A sailor, yes, all like a New York sailor.
Not like a New York sailor. Yes. You go out on the boat for the day with a bottle of wine or something in hand, and you
1,000%.
Yeah,
and like telling you like it is, because listen, we don't have time, right? We don't have time to waste time anymore.
That's right.
Yeah, we have to take the opportunities. I think, you know, the kind of world we're in right now, while it's scary and while I would prefer for a lot of things to go away, I also think that we have to, again, understand we can't control our circumstances. We can't control other things that are happening in the world, but what we can control is how we take the opportunities. And if I had not done that, I wouldn't be here. My clients wouldn't be where they are. My family wouldn't be where they are. So if you're looking for that kind of change as well, then it's a great, it's kind of a great place to be.
Love it. I love your community so much. And I already feel like we're soul sisters. We just connected so well at the very beginning. So for anyone who's interested, we will put the link to the free community Facebook group below this video.
Yeah.
And we'll put also where you can contact Allison, see more about her program right now that she's just opened the doors to. And if you have any more questions, you can shoot us a comment in the Facebook group.
Yeah, you can tag me on this video, and I'll, I love hanging out in Amy's Facebook group. I love being here. So I will, if you have any questions, I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allison, for taking the time. And I know that you're going live right after this too at 11. So if you're interested, you should join her Facebook group so you can be in there when she goes live.
Yeah, you'll really start. I'm gonna be I'm a little spicy today on this one. It's 4 mistakes that people make on their way to 4 figures. I'm a little spicy on this one, yeah.
I'm going to make sure that I'm there. So I hope you join us as well. And thank you so much, Allison.
Thank you for sharing your community with me, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Make it a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.